In this video, you are going to learn proven tips to pass your next online interview. Thanks to COVID, almost all companies have moved to a virtual interview model, where you'll be doing interviews online through Zoom or other platforms. And don't worry, we aren't going to waste your time with any of those common sense tips, like making sure you're in a quiet place or having a good internet connection. These are going to be real tips that can actually help you pass these interviews. The first tip for online interviews is around scheduling. The beauty of doing a video or online interview is that you can actually break them up. You don't have to do them all back to back in the same day as if you were traveling on site anymore. So, as a pro tip, I would recommend that you split up your interviews and do them one per day. You can always make the excuse that you're going to be busy at work and you don't want to raise suspicion with your current employer. You can also tell your recruiter that this is going to be easier to help them schedule it on your behalf, because now your interviewers don't have to block off an entire day to interview me, and you can now work around their schedules. This also gives you additional time to study in between each of your interviews. Next, when you are scheduling your interviews, give yourself a 30-minute block beforehand where you don't have any meetings. You don't want to be rushing or running late from another meeting, being all flustered and not having time to study and prepare. I can't tell you how many of my candidates have shown up in a bad mood or have shown up late, flustered, and already under stress before the interview even starts. Don't let that be you. The next tip is to actually go ahead and test your audio and video for your online interview. If you're going to be doing your interview via Zoom, go ahead and log in, create a new meeting which is just by yourself, and go ahead and test out your microphone and the lighting. The most important part of your interview is going to be the audio. So test it with the speakers, with your built-in speakers and your built-in microphone, and test it with your headphones and see which one is better. I generally recommend headphones over the loudspeakers, but it kind of depends on which app you are using. Lighting is a nice to have, but it is not critical. Next, I actually recommend that you elevate your camera to make it at least eye level with you. You don't want it to be below you. Generally, when the camera is below you, it's not a very flattering angle, and psychologically, it makes them seem like they are beneath you, which is not the idea that you want to give to your interviewers. When your camera is actually at your eye level, what this also does is it frees up your hands and space below the camera for you to take notes or for you to reference things if you absolutely need to in an emergency. If the camera is too low or angled low, they will be able to see what your hands are doing, and they would be able to see if you're ruffling through papers, looking at notes, or you are cheating for certain things. This brings me to my next tip, which is that you should not be using notes, whether that's on your screen or in physical paper form down on the desk below you. Your interviewers will be able to track your eyes. So if your notes are on your screen, don't think you're being sneaky by having multiple windows open. They will know what you're looking at, especially if it looks like you are reading something back and forth. And of course, if you have notes on the table, they're obviously going to know if you keep looking down and you keep constantly reading your notes. Also, do not wear glasses when you are doing a video interview, because they will be able to see the reflection on your glasses of the screen. So they will be able to tell what you are looking at and if you are looking at interview notes at the same time. If you absolutely need some type of notes, I only recommend that you use a very, very small Post-it note just like this and go ahead and paste it right below where your camera is. So that way, if you do need to reference some very short notes, you won't be breaking eye contact with your interviewer, so it won't look suspicious. And when you have a very small notepad like this, you can't fit a lot on it, so you won't be able to read your entire essay. This is just in emergencies. This combination of tips brings me to my next one, which is that you should take notes on a physical piece of paper during your interviews. Do not take notes on your computer screen. By taking physical notes on a notepad like this and telling your interviewer that you're going to be taking notes like this actually buys you some time when you're thinking of your answer. Also, as a quick pro tip, you can put some notes at the very top of your paper, and then you can take notes below it. And while you're taking notes, you may get to cheat a little bit and reference some of those bullet points up top. And because your camera is angled at your eye level, they will not be able to see what's actually written down on your notepad down here. Now, this next tip is to only be used in emergency scenarios or a worst case scenario. This is not something I openly condone, but it is something that you can do because it is an online interview. Now, if you are asked an interview question and you are stuck and you straight up blank out and you don't have an answer, in a worst case scenario, you can turn off your Wi-Fi to buy you a few extra minutes. The best way to do this, and I honestly, again, am not condoning this, but it is an option, is to plug in your Wi-Fi and your internet through a surge protector and keep that low and next to your feet. In a worst case scenario, if you blank out and you're going to have to skip a question, I would say you should just hit that off button, turn off your Wi-Fi, and then rejoin the call later and say that something happened in your house. Now, if you are going to do this, you have to do it early. You can't be asked the question, sitting there trying to think about your answer and struggling for 5 minutes in silence, and then turn off your Wi-Fi. It's going to be pretty obvious that it was kind of set up. And you can only do this one time. You cannot use this trick multiple times because obviously multiple interviewers are going to note that you lost internet during the hardest question and then came back a few minutes later. My next tip here is once your online interview is done, I immediately recommend opening up a Word document or an Excel sheet and writing down all of the interview questions that you were just asked. Add it to your interview question bank and go ahead and practice and improve on your answers for the next company or for the next interview that you have. And of course, even when you have an online interview, you are gonna wanna make sure that you send a thank you email. Go ahead and watch the video that I put up on my channel right here if you want the word for word best template to email your interviewers to say thank you after an interview. All right, so now you have some online exclusive interview tips that would only be applicable for online interviews so that you can go ahead and crush your next interview and hopefully get more job offers. If you want more interview tips like this, you can go ahead and watch this video right here on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and good luck with your interviews this year, and don't be afraid to shake things up.